Picture a place where the green hills are just completely cloaked in this swirling, pearlescent mist. A place where time basically stands still, and the veil separating our everyday, mundane reality from the terrifying, enchanting otherworld is, well, it's paper thin. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to explore Michael H. Kelly's mesmerizing collection of stories, For Fear of Little Men. We're taking a journey right into a realm where ancient Celtic and Norse myths don't just exist in the past, they bleed directly and sometimes terrifyingly into the present.
Up the airy mountain, down the rushy glen, we daren't go hunting for fear of little men. That chilling little hook from William Allingham's poem, The Fairies, brilliantly sets the dark, folkloric tone for this entire book. I mean, it sounds like a cute child's song, right? But the underlying warning is incredibly real within these pages. We aren't hunting for twinkling little sprites today. We are stepping into a world where the little men, and the monsters they share the shadows with, are fierce, unpredictable, and deeply dangerous.
So let's get right into it. Section 1, The Isle of Man's Magic. To really understand these stories, we have to look at where they were born. The Isle of Man has this truly unique mythological DNA. Sitting right there at the absolute center of the British Isles, you can actually see Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales from its shores. Because of that geography, it became a cultural pressure cooker. It beautifully blends the fiery passion of the Celts with the staunch, steadfast spirit of the Viking Northmen. It's known as the realm of Mennon MacLear, the Celtic god of the sea, but it's equally imbued with the magical essence of the Norse god Odin. This concentrated heritage produces a land that's incredibly rich in powerful magic and treacherous storms.
And the author, he doesn't just recount these myths from afar. He claims to have literally walked right into them. Imagine this. It's a close, muggy midsummer's night, and he takes this hypnotic, sweat-inducing climb up a steep, wooded hillside on the island. He's exhausted, the air is stifling, and the silvery mist begins to thicken all around him. Stumbling in the dark, his hand brushes against a wooden post and some barbed wire. He climbs over a surprisingly uneven, crooked stile, and in doing so, he steps sideways out of our reality and straight into the fairy realm.
And that brings us face to face with the entity he meets in those woods, the Líon An She. In Celtic legend, this is a fairy muse. The author describes a visceral encounter with a wiry woman in a dark green dress with bright scarlet red hair and blazing emerald eyes. She radiates this inner light in a teasing, knowing presence. She tells him she fills men with the ecstasy of her knowledge, plunging their minds entirely into the other world. It's an inspiration so blinding and potent that it often burns out a mortal brain, leading straight to madness. She tasks him to sing her songs, and he wakes up the next morning cold and stiff on the hillside, furiously typing out the very visions we are exploring today.
And wow, what terrifying visions they are. Which leads us to Section 2, Monsters and Madness.
Take the Bugain, for example. This is a malevolent, shadow-dwelling demon with razor-tipped talons, great cloven hooves, and pale, gleaming eyes. The story goes that local priests decided to build a chapel on Greba Mountain, right smack on the Bugain's territory. They called it St. Trinian's Church. Well, the Bugain, absolutely furious at this new god trespassing on his land, conjured a massive black storm. He literally tore the roof off the chapel, hurling the stones across the hillside in a complete berserk fury. But, the locals still wanted that church finished. Enter Timothy the tailor. Timothy was a boastful outsider who made a wager that he wasn't afraid of any spooks. He bet he could sit in that roofless, haunted chapel all night just sewing a pair of trousers. Of course, the Bugani appears, literally growing out of a pool of inky shadow on the floor. The demon taunts Timothy, describing its great jaws and crushing limbs, getting ready to devour his soul. Timothy, stitching like an absolute maniac, finishes the trousers just in the nick of time, leaps up, and narrowly escapes the slavering jaws of the demon by squeezing through a tiny window that the monster was simply too big to fit through. It's a humorous but genuinely terrifying survival story. Now, we have to remember, the line between folklore and real-life tragedy can be razor-thin. Let's look at the very real, horrific story of Bridget Cleary in 1895 Ireland. Step 1. Bridget, a successful dressmaker, suddenly falls ill with a severe respiratory issue. Step 2. Her uncle Jack, who is deeply steeped in fairy lore, insists this sickly woman is not Bridget at all, but a fairy changeling sent to replace her. Step 3. This belief spirals completely out of control, culminating in her husband and family holding her over a searing fire to drive the changeling out. This ultimately leads to her tragic, fiery death. The absolutely crucial point here is understanding the total conviction behind this act. armed with a black-handled knife. Bridget's husband Michael truly believed he wasn't harming his wife. He thought he was destroying a monstrous imposter. He was entirely convinced that by burning the changeling, his real, robust wife would appear the next night riding a white horse in a fairy ring, and he'd be able to rescue her. It is a staggering, heartbreaking example of what happens when the fear of the other world entirely eclipses reality. Moving on from that visceral horror, let's look at Section 3, Tragic Legends and Magic. Because this collection isn't just about demons and changelings. We see the incredible diversity of these myths vividly in figures like Iandu. He was a real man born in 1844 on the Isle of Skye, a trickster bard and sailor with genuine, mischievous magical powers. Contrast him with a creature of ancient myth, like the mermaid from beneath the cliffs of Spanish Head. These beautiful beings sing bittersweet songs that make men weep. Dwelling in coral rooms strewn with the gold coins that drowning sailors carry in their pockets to bribe the fierce sea goddess Ren. You can really see the stark contrast in the types of stories here, too. On one hand, you have the grand, inescapable epic of the doom of Deirdre, a girl prophesied at birth to be so beautiful that rivers of Irish blood would flow because of her. It's a heavy, tragic destiny full of kings and Gerudic sorcery. On the other hand, you have the light-hearted, localized illusions of Ian Dove, who playfully humiliated a hypocritical minister by magically making him look like a ragged tramp with stolen chicks in his pockets. Both are fundamentally Celtic, but they have a completely different flavor. And just to prove that otherworldly danger literally lurks around every corner in this realm, consider the Taru Ushte. This is the water bull, an eerie, nightmarish creature of immense strength, known to roam the dark country lanes of the Isle of Man. It's a quick reminder that whether you're in a chapel, on a boat, or just walking home, you are never truly alone in Celtic lands. Pulling back from the individual tales now, we arrive at Section 4, the enduring Celtic spirit. Because here's the thing, the author didn't just passively transcribe these stories. He used his storyteller's art to embellish them and really make them his own. And this isn't a corruption of the myths. This is actually the very essence of the ancient Celtic storytelling tradition. He fully embraced that crooked path he was led down by Leon and She, recognizing that these stories must evolve and be spoken anew if they're going to stay alive. Which brings us to the book's ultimate thematic takeaway. Quote, "Stories are all that we have and all that we are, defining us and giving us shape." Whether these stories are lived out in our daily lives, enacted in our imaginations, or whispered to us by a fairy muse in the misty woods, they form the absolute core of our human identity. They teach us what to fear, what to revere, and how to understand our place in a very mysterious universe. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. We've seen how a belief in changelings literally shaped life and death in 1895. We've seen how the fear of a demon kept a hillside empty for years. These aren't just old fairy tales, guys. They are the invisible architectures of human behavior. So, what are the invisible stories and modern myths that define your world right now? Think about that as you navigate your own crooked paths today. Thank you for joining me on this explainer. Until next time, keep questioning the world around you.